Another important thought management strategy is to manage our expectations. Our expectations can have a strong influence on our emotional experience. For example, if we expect to earn $700 a week for a week's work, but actually receive $1,500, you'd probably feel quite happy about that. However, if you expected to earn $1,500 and only receive $700, you'd probably feel quite disappointed. Also, likewise, if you expected to get 10 things done in the day but only got 3 done, you might feel disappointed and a sense of failure. Expectations are like promises that we make to ourselves about the outcomes we want and expect from ourselves, from others, and situations. This diagram shows what can happen to us when our expectations are out of line with reality. In this way, unrealistic expectations can be the reason why we experience negative feelings such as frustration, disappointment, and a sense of failure, which can contribute to a low mood. If we have expectations that are unrealistic and unreasonable, excessive or rigid, unadaptable, we will probably feel strong negative emotions when these expectations are not realised, which is quite likely to happen given that they were unreasonable in the first place. A good way to identify and become aware of unhelpful expectations is whenever you notice yourself feeling angry or frustrated, disappointed or hurt, consider the situation you're in and review your expectations for it. An example of this could be, say, you had taken the children out and the family out to the park, and you had really high expectations for a really nice family time. However, in reality, the kids were terrible. They were grumpy, they were fighting, they were crying, complaining and wanting to go home. And in response, you felt very frustrated, angry and disappointed that things did not work out according to your expectations for the day. Consider the situation you're in and review your expectations for it. By doing this, you can take a step back and adjust your expectations to something a little bit more realistic. Like it'll be nice to get out of the house regardless of how the children are. And after all, they are children, so we would expect them to struggle with their behaviours and emotions at times. However, it will do us all good to get out of the house and we can still have a good family time regardless of their behaviour. Helpful expectations are realistic, flexible and adaptable and enable us to function in a happier and a safer psychological way. It's important to identify, evaluate and change unrealistic expectations. You'll find a helpful process and tools to do this by using the Change Expectations worksheet. It would now be a good time to identify any unrealistic expectations and record them in the current expectations section. The next step is to evaluate them by asking yourself the questions there, and then develop and record new expectations that are more helpful, realistic and reasonable in the new expectations section. The last step is to say the new expectations out loud in your mind. And every time in the future when you become aware of these old expectations, so in real time and in reality, it could just look like this.
So this is an example of how the Changing Expectations worksheet could work. A person could identify their current unhelpful expectation, which could be, I expect my partner to make me happy. Then they could evaluate it by asking themselves, is this helpful? Which is no. Is it realistic? Which is no. Is it flexible and adaptable? Which is also no. And lastly, does this expectation promote a healthy and effective attitude to relationships? And the answer to that is no. They could then create a new expectation that is helpful, realistic, flexible and adaptable and would help to develop a healthy and effective attitude towards relationships. An example of this could be, I'm responsible for my own emotions and I expect my happiness to come from my own actions. So that's just an example of how a person could use the Changing Expectations worksheet. So So now you could write in what is needed and relevant for your situation regarding expectations.
Once you get used to using the Change Expectations worksheet, you can just simply do this process in your head. So I hope you found this section helpful in managing and changing negative thoughts and unrealistic expectations. I know that as you practice and improve your ability to manage your thoughts and expectations, it is very likely to have a very positive effect on your mood. So that brings us to the end of section 4, and I look forward to seeing you in section 5, where we will cover the very important area of emotional management strategies and relapse prevention strategies. I'll see you there.
Now, if you feel you need more than this program right now, you can call one of the numbers on the screen for someone to talk to.